Welcome back to Powerbombshells. Just two broads chatting about what wrestling we're watching and all that jazz. But before we get started this week, I want to give you guys a quick update.
Yes.
And oh, hey, Sam, say hi.
Hi.
It's me and Sam.
It
We're
is.
together.
Yay.
But I wanted to give you guys, I was so excited to tell everybody the good news about our friend Jeff there over at the Dynamite Show and other places who we told you about his little surgery last week, but he has made it through and he seems to be home and in Jeff spirits.
Yes.
Good spirits if you have a good sense of humor.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
It's nice to see him doing well, and we just want to give you guys a quick update. And also big shout out Jeff, because keep it up, big guy.
Yeah.
Just keep getting better. He's actually at home, which I've gotten stuck in hospitals for long periods of time, and you heal better at home. I was really happy to hear that he got
better. Me too. And it seems like a surgery went well from what he was told, he says.
Well, and that I think that because of, all the things that go on.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you have to wait for this and you have to wait for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a big pain in the butt, but it's the good outcome, and it was really great. I felt very humbled to be part of a community of people that got together.
Yeah, I was just about to say shout out to Paul for getting all those last week on the Dynamite Show. They did a live episode, which I think is also, you can watch the replay. I think it's up on YouTube and it's on Patreon as well. And he had people send in videos and surprised Jeff. He didn't know that that they were going to do one. And I got to, I sent one in, and then it was really cool. A lot of people from Fight Game Media pitched in and got him a cameo from Tully Blanchard, who was his favorite wrestler, and they gave him, and he had a really nice message that I think got everybody in the feels a little bit. So it was nice. And so it was nice to see everybody come together to support him. And that was a really great, sometimes this community can be really great for all the crap that's out there. There's some really great people and stuff like that. So I was really happy to see that. And I think it probably helped Jeff a lot to have all that support from everybody. And then just, of course, he was getting stuff on Twitter, and he said people that don't even follow him were telling him, good luck and stuff. So I was like, so that tells you how powerful the community can be when they come together for good things. So that was really good. And so I'm glad, like you said, he's doing well.
I'm really glad that you pointed all that out, because like you said, it can get pretty toxic on there, but also
we're gonna get to something that was happening this morning.
Humbling place to be. I watched it. Just Fight Game Media, you guys rule. Love everybody. All of our honorary Powerbombshells.
Yes.
I joking in my head, I thought he would appreciate this. Jeff was our first diversity hire as Powerbombshell.
He was. You're correct. He was.
Tila Cash was officially the first Powerbombshell.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. So Jeff was the first. We got some diversity and got some testosterone up in here.
Powerbombshells are for everybody.
Yes, we are for everyone.
But it was really awesome and fun, and just outcomes being good is always good. So definitely check that out. There is the YouTube replay, which is get your tissues a little.
Yeah.
And also, if you subscribe to the Patreon, you can get it in audio format, and that's nice too, because most everything came through on everything, and that's awesome. It feels really nice. So,
it does.
Well done, wrestling community, and Jeff, who did the toughest work.
Because diamonds are forever, and so is Jeff Hawkins.
Jeff, that's I love that. That is a thing. I know that some cameos can be really I just love the idea, and I love how fast and how true some of the people do. It's easy to do a little, hey, Bill, whatever, but I really feel like, and maybe it's just that they're wrestlers and they're used to cutting promos.
True.
But it feels like oh my gosh, that person took a minute to actually think about the human being that was behind there, even if they don't know them.
Right. And I think it was also great because Tully said, I expect an update in a couple of months. So like that's a big deal. He didn't have to say that, and he didn't have to do that. And it came across really authentic. It's not because, oh, well, you're paying him for a cameo. It's just came across as it was a very authentic message that he sent, which was really cool to see.
Yes.
So it's very nice to see, especially because there was, which we'll get to, there was some toxicity on Twitter this morning.
I missed this morning's toxicity.
Yeah, well, it was directed towards Eddie Kingston, which made it made it even worse. But we'll get to that when we talk when we talk about
and he's getting like a whole section of the show. So
yeah, I mean, he is on the cover. Takeshita.
Yeah.
So we will get to that match because we were going to talk about it anyway. And then this morning I happened to see, I was like, oh, Eddie Kingston's trending. Let's see why. And I was like, oh, I hate it here. Because I didn't, luckily I didn't see the negative tweets. I saw the people talking it, like respond, like not adding people, but like, why are you talking? Like it was people being supportive and positive. So I never actually saw the negative tweets, but I got out of the thread before I saw anything. And it just, it's like, I was like, you know what? I'll just save my thoughts for the show.
Yeah, save for the show. Save for the show.
Yeah, I did not save the other thing for the show. I put it on Twitter. If you are following me on Twitter, you will see that I was documenting that and I wasn't going to talk about it on the show, but I want to bring it up real quick. So I
think you should.
So I dreamed that I was talking to MJF, and he told me he was coming back imminently. He didn't say where he was coming, which company. None of that. Was no details other than he specifically told me he was coming back. He was in his gray suit. We were outside, so it was not like, first of all, I don't know where we were. We were just outside. We were just like talking, and he's like, yeah, so I'm coming back, and I'm coming back imminently. That's all he said. I will put a disclaimer that I think it was wintertime because it was cold, and I think it had been snowing. So maybe imminently in the wintertime. I don't know. Maybe imminently next week. Who knows? maybe WWE imminently, which means it could be tomorrow, or it could be like Veer, where they said that he's coming for like 6 months, and so maybe it's that. I don't know. So if MJF comes back, you heard it here first, or on my Twitter first.
Wow.
It was funny because I went to, like, after he left, and then I was like, I have to write about this. Like, it's my journalistic duty. I have to report this, but I'll just say that it came from, so I kept trying to tell him just so he had a heads up. I was like, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to say that you're coming back. I'm not going to say that you're the one who told me. I'll just say it came from a direct source. So every time I tried to tell him, somebody would interrupt me, or they would like pull him away. So, and then my alarm went off this morning. So I never got to tell him. So MJF, if you're listening to this somehow, sorry if I spoiled your return. But that's what somebody told me. They're like, Sam scoops. I was like, I'm gonna put it in my bio. Keela told me, she said, if he comes back anytime in the future, you're gonna help me pick Powerball numbers. I was like, we'll try. We can see what happens.
I mean, why not? If you're that good, then why deny it?
It was really strange. I don't know. I don't think I've ever dreamed about MJF before, so I don't know where this came from, but I was like, I'm just going to put it out there. If he goes back.
I am now rooting for this just because it would be funny as hell.
So maybe he comes back at, because I was thinking about it. I was like, well, Grand Slam is in New York, right? Because it's at the Arthur Ashe. So
Arthur Ashe.
Yeah,
they promises they fixed everything. They swear to God they will have enough beer and nachos. And from the amount of food I saw consumed during Forbidden Door, they freaking better, man. Because holy cow!
Like eat. Yeah, like, and drink.
Whoa, are you guys even watching the matches?
Those lines are probably long as crap too.
Oh my God, it's I'm gonna get into a old person tirade about who wants to spend $20 on a chicken sandwich. But we're gonna skip that.
Well, and that's I was like, that's one of the good things about Nikki having like dietary restrictions on what she can have.
You gotta be specific.
And so we don't eat at the arena.
At the arena. Me either. We usually eat before.
Yeah, we eat before, and sometimes she'll bring, like, that was one of the things that All In, we were trying to figure out. We're like, well, what does Nikki do? Because there's not going to be food for her. And so I emailed somebody with, I think with the arena, and like explained her situation, and they were like, she can bring, because they were like specific about not bringing outside food, and they were like, she can bring it has to be in a plastic bag, it has to be this, and they were like, save this email, that way if there's any issues you can show them. And so that's what we did. I think she put like a bar and something else like in a bag that she had, and they didn't say, I think we told them, like when they were checking our purses, we're like, hey, Nikki was like, I have dietary issues, I can't eat anything in this arena. So we emailed somebody, and we've got the email, and I think they were like, okay, cool, and they were fine with it. So I was like, yeah, so that is like the one time that it's helpful that Nikki can't eat certain things, because it saves us from spending money at buying $20 chicken sandwiches, or standing in line for half an hour for food. So that helped.
Yeah.
Or we'll try to get we'll get a water, and we'll try to do it like right before the show starts if we can. And then we try to be, unless we absolutely have to go to the bathroom, we're one of those people that like once we're in our seats, we try to just stay there.
That's exactly right. I think maybe once during the show, just because it was a little long, but as far as like going to the bathroom, but that's us too. One water.
Yeah.
Get a big water.
Yeah, exactly.
Spend the money on an $8 water.
Yeah.
And just have we joke about it, because can't have the water anywhere else, but whatever. It's fine. It is what it is. It's part of the experience.
It is part of the experience.
And also cloud shaking my fist, whatever. It's one of those things that I can't get down on it too hard, because one of the things that happens at Ren Fair a ton is that, as someone who's like there on I go regularly, and so I'm used to like lines and prices and everything that goes on at festivals and fairs and things like that. Right. And so for me, it's like, we give out about the guys that are standing in line, like, can you believe this line? Can you believe? And then, and they're always somebody that clearly has not been to fair maybe ever in their life. Right. And so it's like, don't be that guy. Don't be the guy in the alligator shirt with the khaki shorts at the fair that is bitching about that he has to wait in line for a $17 beer. It's like, let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
They actually, our fair did a pretty good job for a long time there, where they were giving you like a couple for the price of like maybe 17 was for 2 or whatever. Right. It was like, okay, as long as, because you were essentially giving them a little bit more money at a time. And exactly. Also, it saves them having
That's what I was just about to say. It saves them and it also saves you from having to get back in line and
beer and turkey legs, man.
Yeah.
Just get out of the way.
It's so funny. I've never been to our Ren Fair, because I used to work weekends, and so it was always like but it was funny because we would have people who would go, like when I was working at this emergency vet, and people would pay them to bring them turkey legs. They're like, they would give them the money.
Oh yeah.
And it would be like, can you bring me turkey legs? And so they would like swing by on their way back and be like, here's the turkey legs.
That's a smarter way to do it. Although I'm pretty let's just say that festival cooked poultry is not something that I'm super over for.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I
definitely want to try it.
Cooked
poultry. Cooked. Yeah. Yeah, it's on my list to go to the one, and like they've had
it's messy.
Yeah, it's always in like October and November, and it's either like I was either always like at a wrestling show, or I was at something else, or it was raining. And I was like, so I'm always like, I'm going to go. And then something happens. And then of course, during, COVID, they didn't have it or anything like that. So, so hopefully maybe this year I'll get around to it, because I want to go. I think it would be fun. I would like to.
A lot of crazy. I don't know who's like booked at your fair, but I'd have to look. You'd have to tell me where it was.
Yeah, and it's like the Charlotte Ren Fair, but it's not actually in Charlotte, I don't think. I think it's like right on, like, I think they've moved it to, I can't remember where it's moved to. But apparently this was like a really big area. And I know they always get like a really big turnout every year.
That's nice.
And they do it on the weekends for like, I think through, I want to say October through November. So they do it for like 2
usually,
months.
I mean, most places, there's one going on in Sterling right now in New York, which goes through the end of August, but like ours starts the end of August and goes through the beginning of October.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's usually 4 to 6 weeks seems like the sweet spot for most fairs that I've seen around the country. Just from I've gotten to know performers is what it is, and so you get a little bit of. And this is not an relevant topic, folks, because fairs and wrestling totally started at the same places. So.
That's what I was about to say. That's where the carny comes from.
There's plenty of carny and festivals that
yep.
That's one of my favorite things.
Some overlap between those two.
One of my favorite things is that none of my wrestling fans can give out to me about my Ren Fair things, because it's like, oh, you want to have a conversation about that when you're rooting for a guy that's in sparkly spandex against a guy with that's a like wizard. He's a wizard.
A real one
right now.
Yeah,
so
not a Jericho.
It's amazing. Rennies and wrestling fans are my people.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I feel you.
I just said
there is a lot of overlap. Like, just even besides the carny stuff, it's just the characters and the showmanship and all that stuff, and it's talking to the audience and things like that. So yeah, there's definitely people can't try to separate those two because they're very similar.
Well, I mean, no turkey legs at a wrestling show. So
no, they would probably make some good money if they did.
Or pickles. I get those pickle vendors.
Love pickles.
Oh my gosh. We'd go on for hours.
Me too. All right. I guess we should get back on track a little bit here. So do we want to, I guess we'll move into we'll go ahead and get the big news out of the way first. I guess. Yeah. So Vince McMahon is back in the news, which we just talked about this like 4 episodes ago. So
we called it is actually one of the things that we said. Yeah. We had the conversation when we talked about it because we felt like we needed to touch on it because it's a big wrestling story.
Yeah, because even though we don't watch WWE and there are WWE centric shows on this channel, we can't not hit on it, especially when you have 2 women who are on a show.
There's more. And that was what we said is, if there's more, what happens next?
Yeah. And I still feel like there is more. I think that there's way more than these 4.
How can there not be at this point?
Right. And even if, and that's what I've talked about, even if they do not have NDAs or have been paid anything, there are probably a lot of women who have been sexually harassed by that man.
Oh, God,
while he was working. I mean, we already have talked about the story about how like there was the spa employees a couple of years ago that were talking about how he was like harassing them there. So like we know it's in, there's a pattern there, which is which is a thing that I brought up on because I wrote an article about it for Daily DDT, and that's what we were saying, because I was like, the story with Rita Chatterton, obviously the statute of limitations have gone, they were already gone when she came public in 1992 about it, but her point is people need to know, and it sets and it puts in that's a pattern for him. So the current Wall Street Journal article said that there are 4 NDAs or 4 women with NDAs and payments going back at least 16 years. That's what we know of. And then you have Rita Chatterton. That was in 1992 that she went public with that. So that shows you a pattern, and it shows you a pattern of him abusing his power. It's a pattern of him using his power with women he works with. That he uses who he is, and he uses their jobs as leverage to do the things that he wants them to do. Because I've seen some people and they're like, oh, well, they went along with it. But you clearly, speaking out, first of all, Me Too and speaking out, if they taught you anything, is the abuse of power and how they use it to get sexual favors or relationships or whatever it is, that's what they use, and that happens. And it's not just in wrestling or in entertainment. This is in every walk of life. Like Mel and I have had this conversation. Like it is literally everywhere.
When any woman that decides to come forward about having any sort of abuse pattern, the first in these professional situations, this goes back to, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when this conversation really started, which was Anita Hill, where we first started making, we had to talk about it. We had to talk about that this has been going on forever and it never changed, even though like women came into the workplace and we have a bad habit of having things change where we're like, okay, women in the workplace, everything's cool, totally equal. And then we don't talk about how to integrate and how to decondition and how to get our brains out of the gutter and how to not slap the secretary on the ass anymore.
Right.
And when you're in a position of power like that, I mean, going along with it, you even saw some of the women kind of misreact where you had, I don't want to like misquote something, but it was essentially like, oh, that's now where a woman says, oh, no wonder I never got a raise. And it's like, oh, don't say that. That's not, don't, because you're supporting his bad behavior.
You are victim blaming and you're slut shaming. And
that's not the answer.
Yeah, and so there's actually,
he shouldn't be allowed. He's the boss of
you. It's on him. Yeah, I was gonna say it's on him. It's his actions and his behavior. And so that's why when I initially saw the Mickie James tweet from Friday, I took it as I was like, wait, why is she slut shaming? And then I realized that that's probably not what she meant. And I think in the context was, oh, I never got a raise because he didn't approach me about these things. Or somebody else in the comments was like, I think she means that's why she didn't get the raise and she was fired back in the when they were basically in the budget cuts, is because all of that money was going to hush money instead of paying his employees. And so I don't think she meant it the way
I hope that, and I mean, I hope that that's true, and I would imagine that it is, because she hasn't been treated well by that company.
She hasn't. So and she, and people were like, well, you're the one who came back at Royal Rumble, but she came back on her own terms. She got her paycheck. She got a check. She got to bring her Impact Knockouts title with her and put it on WWE TV, which has never happened before. So she held all of the power in that. They made her an offer and she was like, well, here are my deal. Here is what I want. And she got it and she took it. So I was like, she
got a paycheck.
After they gave
any dude decided he wanted to play one night for that paycheck, no one would really.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, and after they sent her stuff in a trash bag, that's the very least that they could do. Like, she got to have that closure. She got to go back. She got to be in a huge match with other women. She got her paycheck. She got to put her Knockouts title. She got to say, look, you didn't think about this of me, but this other company thinks that I am good enough to represent their entire women's division. So, I mean, she got to do all of these things on her own terms, which is incredible, especially given the fact that with what we know now, that, we know that one of the women who got I think she received $7.5 million, which is probably not nearly enough for what she went through, but it was a diva. It was somebody from 2005. So it's probably someone we know. So, and again, with all of these things, they all have non-disclosure agreements, so they cannot comment one way or another. So please, I know we put I saw the disclaimer out from a few people on Friday. I cannot co-sign this enough. Do not at these women if you figure it out. It's obviously because of that time frame. It's easier to connect the dots and figure out probably who these women are because we now know a little bit more information. But I saw one of the women who it could potentially be, like, she was trending on Twitter because people were like, oh, I bet it's her, which is a terrible thing to do. And even if you're not adding her, you're making her trend on an app for being preyed upon by her terrible predator boss. Like, you're making her, and all of these women, you're making them relive their trauma. It's just essentially, and even I was
well,
like,
and you don't know, it's pure speculation.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah, on top of that, yeah,
about someone who wasn't harassed,
right,
while someone who actually physically was harassed,
right,
isn't going to get. The problem with these situations, and the reason that I think that we don't get a good answer, is that the noise gets so loud that the justice doesn't get, the investigations don't happen, and
right.
proper authorities are not involved, and women and men don't get their they don't get their day in court. They don't get their, it's like, don't worry, if we scream loud enough, this will all go away. And the end result of that is that the abuse continues in perpetuity.
Well, and that's exactly the thing that I think I've said this many times about Vince McMahon, is he has never actually faced any type of consequences.
Well, he's gotten away, and the things that the times that he has, he's won.
Right. Exactly. So this is how this abuse continues to happen. And then you have, like, when the first case came out, you have Vince McMahon go on TV that very same day. He's sort of the Mr. McMahon character because that's who we're used to seeing on TV. And so that's who these idiot fans are cheering for. And he went out there for his.
You just said idiot fans.
I don't care. I don't care. That man does not care.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you, that man.
Play more. You may have just incited your own. I
don't care.
If there's a WWE fan accidentally watching this, you're in trouble.
Well, that's what the block button's for. That man does not care about you. He does not know you exist. He doesn't care that you're defending him. I don't
think that he
he doesn't care. Clearly he doesn't. He's sending nude photos to women. Like,
he gets away with it because he can get away with it.
No, that's what happens when you're a rich white man in America.
It's the kayfabe part of it, where he like dances on that line and uses the character to excuse.
Yeah. Well, and also we've seen that bad behavior from the character, because look at what he did look at the Trish Stratus stuff. Like we talked about, where
it was right in the ring.
Yeah. And he made her bark like a dog. He made her get down on all fours. She was basically in her bra and panties. He's done things like this before. So it comes off as the Mr. McMahon character, not because this just reminded me, there is a wrestler. I don't know if I should, he's the one who put it on Twitter. He deleted it quickly, but there is a wrestler who has wrestled on Dark and Elevation, who said, if this stuff is supposed to make me hate Vinnie, if this stuff about Vinnie Mac is supposed to make me hate him, it's not working. And I hope Sean Dean saw it, and I hope he's never booked again. But he's also Sean Dean's partner. So I don't know.
I guess that could be, and I'm not just devil's advocate, could be like he's done so much crappy shit that I already hated him, and this isn't.
Oh no, he made it seem like he doesn't. That's not the way I took. Maybe.
Okay, no, I'm not saying that.
Maybe possibly, but I don't think that.
Okay, because I was unfortunately not involved in the context of that, so that is.
Yeah, I don't think.
Pretty stupid.
Yeah, he deleted it.
Dumb.
Somebody screenshot it, but he deleted it pretty quickly. But not.
Okay, well, by deleting it almost implicates him for the original.
He deleted it pretty quickly, from what I understand, and I saw the screenshot later about it, and so
people are reading that crap.
Again,
and
it's like,
log on to this app and read it.
Right, and that's the thing, they talk about how, like, it's always the thing, well, so and so won't see you defend them, but victims will. Like, so there are people who have seen that, who are victims, and who have had their boss do these things to them, and they see you laughing about Vince McMahon doing the same thing that happened to them. Like, that's so, like, they see that stuff, but Vince McMahon will never see that you defended him and you think it makes them look cool. Vince McMahon doesn't know who you are anyway. No, exactly. So I don't know what.
Like, I think my biggest frustration with the entire thing is that I think when you look at something like AEW or New Japan, those fans are holding their company accountable on a level. where we feel like, hey, you know, but I mean, I guess we have a voice because there have been changes made or things that do happen or whatever.
I mean, I think to an extent, but then they both still employ wrestlers who have been named and speaking out.
Oh, so. No. I don't mean
so
in
they're
that
not,
regard.
So I just want to make that
in
clear.
The regard
no, right. And
like,
I want to make that clear that because I don't want them to be like, oh, they're only AEW fans. And so they think, no, we understand that there are things that both of these that both AEW and New Japan, they do some pretty, you know, we will call them out on that too. This is not just the
New Japan just straight up. I mean, the way that they feel about women is not like something secret. So it's not like, I mean, cultural or not, like the reality is that we're going to get what we get from that situation. And we're going to understand it from a Western perspective and not an Eastern perspective at all.
True.
But not that I believe that I don't believe that AEW fans excuse their wrestlers plenty, and I'm just as guilty as I just don't know if WWE fans are paying attention. I mean, it's pretty hard to miss this one. It's the Wall Street Journal. He's on the TV.
It was on the front page of ESPN. Somebody said CNN has covered it again.
Kind of like if you're a sports talk radio listener, you certainly heard about this because I saw it on my sports talk radio.
Well, that's good that they're talking. I'm glad it's getting more of a national thing because people will always want to be like, oh, well, it's wrestling and sweep it under the rug. But
that's always going to be that.
Yeah, but in this case,
always win the day.
Absolutely. But then on the other hand, now I think hopefully the one thing that's different this time around is Vince is now beholden to parent companies. And
that's what I was.
He's a publicly traded. His company is publicly traded. Like I had a friend the other day who messaged me and because he saw the article I wrote and he said, I don't watch WWE, but aren't they a publicly traded company? And I said, yes. And he was like, well, why have their shareholders not come together and like gotten rid of him? And I was like, I think part of it's because Vince owns a lot of the shares.
He owns a lot of the shares.
So there's that. There's a lot. It's not as black and white as he needs. I mean, he clearly
he owns a majority of the shares.
Like it's going to be a little bit harder. And he was like, I think Stephanie had to have known. And I was like, I mean, probably, but I don't know that there's any way to, I was like, I don't know that there's any way to prove that. And I was like, and also the shareholders may want to be like, okay, well, she's still a McMahon and they know how to run the company because if you run, if Vince leaves, you push out Stephanie and Triple H. I mean, they've already fired Shane McMahon in real life, so he's likely not coming back. So I was telling him, I was like, I don't know necessarily who would even run it. I mean, obviously there's Nick Khan, but there's a lot that goes into it because it's not just, and he was said that it reminded him of NASCAR because NASCAR was basically run by one family. And he was like, so I was like, WWE is run. And so I was like, so on the one hand, I was like, Stephanie kind of, because that's kind of what they're doing now. Stephanie anchors them because she's been in the business her whole life. She's the McMahon.
And she's a lady, so it makes it look like
there's that too.
I mean, come on again.
Yeah, there's definitely
situation
that. Yeah, because if she
not only do we trust the McMahons, we trust the girl McMahon.
Right. Not that,
it's important, okay?
Yeah, exactly. So
we don't hate women.
There's definitely that. Because even if Shane was still there, then Stephanie were probably, I mean, I'm sure they could have been interim CEOs or whatever, but they probably would have just done with Stephanie because she's the woman.
I think exactly. She's the woman is like the only way for them.
And she's been on TV. So even if you don't watch wrestling, you probably remember seeing Stephanie on TV in the late 90s. You remember her.
Well, and she's done weird network shows. Like we ran across she's done Undercover Boss or
that's
something.
What I was just about to say. She did that, and then and she just won an award from Variety a few weeks ago for her role in media, expanding stuff. So she has been the public face of the company CEOs. For a while. Yeah, so she's definitely that. They've kind of already been prepping her for that role, and now she's kind of getting that. So who knows, if
she's just getting it for all the wrong reasons fundamentally.
Well, and also because the timing, because like we talked about last time, she had just announced she was stepping away from the company. Nobody really knew why. There were rumors that it was because she wasn't good at her job, which I think was a lie. I think that's a flat out lie. And now it seems even more clear that was not correct. But regardless, she's here and she's having to be this but they've got I just don't understand how when this story has come out, well, luckily they didn't parade him on TV on SmackDown as far as I know. However, so backing up real quick to the first time that this all came out, he went on TV, didn't address anything, did not even say I'm no longer the CEO of this company. Like, he didn't even, Stephanie's in charge, none of that, just the then there now forever bullshit that he said. But then he was on, because like we said, neither of us watch WWE anymore, but so that was a Friday, so the following Monday he was on Raw hyping up John Cena returning for his 28-year anniversary. Okay, yeah. Well, then when John Cena came back, he was the one to introduce John Cena. So he's been on TV 3 times since the first set of allegations. Not allegations, the first set of the investigation came out, I should say. Yeah. And so luckily they did not put him on TV Friday night. I don't know how long they'll keep him off TV. But the man is, as far as I know, is still in charge of creative.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it's being reported.
Take away everything from him. And of course their statements, oh, we're aware of this investigation and we take it seriously. Do you? Because I
have to wonder where the stock is and what the plan is. Yeah. And
because John Laurinaitis is done.
Like, if he's got the majority shares, there's literally nothing they can do about that. But there are ways where you can start to, like you had said, that there was an offload of some shares before all of this happened.
Right.
They can start making his life very difficult, is what the shareholders could potentially
and I've seen something about like that. I think that I know that there were some law firms that came forward last time and they were told the shareholders, they're like, if you think there's been some sort of like improprieties with certain things, like, come to us. So there could eventually be lawsuits from the shareholders. And then, but I mean, as clearly, on the one hand, if you're NBC and Fox, like, you can't have this man who has paid women off for sexual misconduct. Like, you can't have him as a CEO of one of your companies. But then on the other hand, a lot of these people in NBC, in the entertainment industry, they have been involved in some of the same things. Not that, we see it, and Me Too started, and, the entertainment part of of movies and things like that. So, it's there too. So it's just, I feel like I'm hoping this time around that Vince will face actual consequences and he will actually be gone. But then on the other hand, he's got away with everything for so long. And that he owns so many shares of his company. I don't know how hopefully they can figure out a way to do it. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the ins and outs and details of what would actually have to happen for him to go away, other than unless because he's not going to take himself off of creative. But is Stephanie going to fire her own dad and be like, you're a liability? You can't be on creative anymore. You can't. I mean, and then yeah. And so, and even there was the picture from the night of Money in the Bank. There was a UFC fight across the street, and he went. There's a picture. There's pictures of him.
In the front row.
It's him, Stephanie, Triple H, and Pat McAfee.
Yeah,
Pat McAfee was apparently in character wearing his neck brace. But this was also
you had to have a photo op, a family photo op.
Of, I'm fine. Sure, my pay-per-view is going on across the street, but I'm here at UFC because I was like, so does he just? I'm not being a CEO. I'm here across the street
as a fan.
With
I bought a ticket. He should get himself one of those I bought a ticket T-shirts.
Yeah, right. And I guess they drug Pat McAfee along because they were getting ready to announce his multi-year deal like a few days later. So I guess that's how Pat got drug along to it.
Well, and he's pretty popular, it seems like right now. So that's definitely a get someone that people like a lot and put him in here with us.
Yeah. And who do
it feels very staged. I mean, I can't. Yeah, there's no way to
because in just the time. Staged. I mean, clearly he was going to the UFC thing, I guess, to be like, oh, this is his first, because that's what they're saying. It's his first public appearance. And then, but it was like, what, a week before the new set of allegations came out? And they had to know they're coming, even if they didn't know the exact date. They have to know that there's that, because in the first article, it said they discovered more NDAs. So clearly they knew it was coming. I still, like we've said, I still think there are more. I think there are more NDAs. I think there are more women who are paid off. I think there are many more women who were sexually harassed by him and have never said anything to anybody. And they're just being validated. They're being validated, but they're probably also being re-traumatized all over again, which is the sad things. Like, these situations need to come out, and we need to know the things that Vince McMahon has been doing. But on the other hand, a lot of these women are being re-victimized and having to have all this stuff brought up again, especially for that hurt. And then when you have people digging around trying to figure out this time frame, okay, and here's this list of people who were wrestling in 2005 but not in 2006, so we can narrow it down to these women. And so and then these women can't say anything.
And then you get the people who are like, well, this person was wrestling during that time, and it's like, stop it. Just that's
right, exactly.
It's the spiral of
well, and then people are like, oh, well, is it this person? And I was like, I mean, because I think they were trying to say they automatically thought it was like some of the bigger women, like, and because of the situations Trish was put in on TV, people assumed, which is a fair assumption, but on the other hand, I don't know.
But it's also purely speculation.
Yeah, exactly. And people are, and she's come back multiple times. Lita has come back multiple times, but that still doesn't mean that just because they were, I guess, escaped from it, doesn't mean that it wasn't a terrible work environment for them. And it's not. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's a lot. But I hope people can learn to be respectful, because I think that's the main thing. Is these women, they had their lives turned upside down. I can't imagine what that was like, going to work with something like that happening. And then now all these people know about it. And they have, especially because I mean, even with the first woman, certain trash people who can call themselves a journalist when they are nothing near being a journalist, outed this woman, because it was fairly easy to figure out who it was. And so that's kind of the same thing here. And it's just, you've got to stop doing that. Like, you can't, Vince McMahon, that's where you should be focusing all of your attention, not on his survivors, but on his actions and his behavior. And then the people who allowed that behavior to continue. And then you see John Laurinaitis, who clearly was involved with at least one woman. Maybe there's others, and he's out. But then Fightful reported that he basically has what people have told them, like, that he has a golden parachute deal, which basically means he's going to be taken care of by WWE. So these yes men.
That's a very common.
Yeah, it is. And so
again, it's just like, we are talking about a publicly traded company. Yeah. Well, that comes with all kinds of perks for the bad guys in situations.
Yeah.
Or the alleged bad guys in situations. And there's all kinds of ways to avoid. I mean, you see it happening with all sorts of things right now, where companies do the thing where they just reorganize, and one part of the company buys another part of the company. And I mean, the one that I think is the toughest for WWE right now is, I think they thought this was going to have blown over by now, and it isn't, because these things keep happening. And you've got a bigger thing like SummerSlam actually coming up, and having that in the news when you've got a major pay-per-view coming up is not going to be great for buys, I would imagine.
I would hope not. But then again, it's also because now it's through Peacock.
They're still a multi-billion-dollar company.
Right. And it's through Peacock. So a lot of these people are already subscribed to Peacock, so they can just watch the pay-per-views if they want to.
Or they just give it to you like they do in my situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like you
part of my Comcast. Like, I'm paying for it whether I like it or not, because it's part of my subscription.
Yeah.
And there's literally no, like, the only thing I can vote with is my wallet, but I can't separate companies from each other.
Yeah.
And it's what's going to happen is it will move the needle when the ad revenue starts to suffer.
Yeah.
And
basically,
nothing will change until they start.
If Vince becomes a liability, then
large sums of money.
Yeah.
Right now, they're not losing enough money to care, but that doesn't mean that tomorrow
people are going to tune in. People are going to tune into Raw tomorrow. They're going to, I mean, a lot of them, it's just habit. That's what they do. They want to see if Vince McMahon's going to be on TV. They're just gonna, so I mean, people are gonna tune in tomorrow, so it's hard to say that any of this is gonna have much effect on, and like, there's fans like us who've already stopped watching and quit watching a long time ago, so I mean, all that. I was talking, somebody wrote an article yesterday, and he was talking about some of the things that you could do to basically use the power of your wallet is obviously the biggest thing. So stop subscribing, stop giving them views, things like that. And he was talking about some other things, and I was telling him, I was like, I kind of did all of this already because I had to go through it with speaking out. Like, there are a lot of wrestlers that I liked who were named, and so when I was telling him, I was like, sometimes covering it just feels like I'm yelling into the void because it just feels like no one's listening. But I did have a guy who replied, and he was like, the coverage helps though, because it helps me realize what they're doing. And he was like, and it's made me, I can't remember if he said he stopped watching or he's watching less or something like that. So he was like, coverage. So it feels, so I was like, some people, it does make a difference. And then some people, they don't care at all. They're going to keep watching because that's what they do, and they don't care. And it is what it is in that situation. But yeah, I don't think this story is going away. I think it's going to get way worse in Stamford. I don't know what the hell's going on behind the scenes. I'm sure his home life is probably not great. I'm sure it's a lot of turmoil going on there. I don't think unfortunately, this is not the last time we're talking about this. I think there's going to be more things. I'm hoping that if these women can get out of their NDAs and feel comfortable coming forward, I hope they are able to tell their stories so that it helps them heal. I hope, and even if they don't get these NDAs, I hope they are doing well. I hope they are healing. I hope they're getting whatever care it is that they need to deal with all of this and all the trauma that they've had to deal with. Since this has happened. So it definitely, but I don't think this is the last we've heard of it. And I think we're gonna hear more. And I don't know if Vince loses his job, or I don't know that Stephanie.
I don't know how that would happen.
I don't really know the ins and outs, and I just don't think this story is going away. And I don't think that Vince is the only one, because clearly we saw the stuff with John Laurinaitis. There's other men who have probably benefited from that culture. And so just because it's not Vince McMahon doesn't mean that it's not terrible and that it's not important, even if it's a lower level people.
Definitely.
They, I think they've built.
Well, I mean, this culture. Stuff starts at the top.
Yep. Exactly.
That sets the tone for the entire company.
So. Yeah. And you can't say, and even if it's not technically happening now, like, they can't use excuse, oh, well, that's how it was in the 90s. Well, first of all, this stuff has leaked into
2022 and a half, guys.
Things are in a half, yes, and it's come through. So yeah, you've got to quit. People are like, oh, when they're excusing his behavior from the 70s and 80s, oh, that's how it was in the 70s and 80s. It doesn't mean it was right. It doesn't mean it was right then, and it's not right now. So we've got to change as a society and a culture. And like Scarlett Harris has a really great book. I've interviewed her before about about her book, and where it talks about women in wrestling throughout the years, in WWE. And she, like, in our conversation, she was talking about how wrestling is a mirror of society.
Yeah,
like it is. And she was like, a lot of the things that are happening in wrestling, and technically on TV, but now we're also saying how it's happening backstage, and it's happening in our society and all walks of life, which I think people really have got to realize. Like, it's not just, because I see people, they're like, oh, the entertainment industry is terrible. And I'm sure, yeah, it is. But it's also happening at your grocery store. It's happening where you buy coffee. It's happening basically with anything that you interact with in your life. It's happening there too. And so you have to call it out there too. It's easy to call out Vince McMahon, but you've got to call it out when it's happening, in your community too.
Agreed.
Yeah. So
it only changes when everybody starts to point it out and go,
yeah,
it's time to stop that.
Yeah.
And it's been time. So, I mean,
yeah, it's definitely a reckoning.
Way past time.
It's definitely a reckoning that should have been dealt with. And it's been a long, long, long time coming. And we're nowhere near the end of it. And so I'm sure people who are already tired of, they're tired of hearing about Me Too, and they're tired of hearing about it. Well, too damn bad. People are starting to speak up, and things are coming to light, and you're going to have to deal with it like the rest of us.
I mean, we have a university situation here, Michigan State University.
Yeah.
I mean, Larry Nassar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the Olympics and university. Like,
yeah.
those poor women for the last several years and what they've been through and his appeals and all these things. It's like, it's not just happening in wrestling. It happens.
Yeah.
And it's sad that in some, I mean, having been in locker rooms and stuff, is that sometimes you're like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. When you, and that shouldn't be where the boys will be boys thing is the one side. For the female side of that is, I mean, we all know that don't go to that doctor,
right?
Or make
that's
sure
how the Whisper Network works, is because women have had to say, you know, like you said, watch out for this guy. Don't.
And you look at the social situation with some of the, I mean, you know, what just happened with Supreme Court. It's not, that is a scary proposition when you look at how everything's going for ladies right now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And of course, and I mean, and it's not obviously just women. Of course, there are victims of all genders and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
great
but
point.
Still, it is, and we do, and we're not discrediting that at all. And I want to make that clear. But I mean,
no, definitely not.
Yeah. And so, and that's why,
and needs to be pointed out too.
And well, and we have to keep pointing that out with Roe v. Wade. There are people who are, you know, basically, if you have a uterus, you know, this is a situation that includes transgender people and non-binary people, and, you know, people who identify different ways, but it's still affecting them. And so, you know, it's just, and so it's basically, it's a humanity thing. Like, it's not, and women have had to be, and the women have had to be the ones to be like, you know, this is not okay. But, you know, men need to also be like, it's been and they're always like trying to push this off as a women's problem, when it's not. It's a problem for humanity. It's, these things should not, we're all human beings, and nobody should be. We live in a
civilization. It should be civil.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's right in the word.
Yeah, right. It's right there.
Civilized. That means, you know, look, progress, and we figured out we shouldn't be doing that. So let's not.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some wrestling.
Yeah, let's do.
Before it gets too late and people are like, oh my God, these freaking hippie.
Well, this is what you signed up for. So, and we have to deal with these situations. And I know that other shows on this network will probably get into it as well, which they should, because, you know, as much noise as possible needs to be made about this. So
agreed. And I think it's tough. I mean, you know, to the credit of most of the gentlemen that are here at our network, they are trying not to mansplain. So they're trying to enter, because they do know that they do have a fundamental understanding that they don't have some understanding. And so they're like, I mean, I give a lot of credit to, it's got to be tough to know where to start.
Yeah.
Unless you've had like extensive conversations with other ladies, like with ladies in your life where you can, and I've seen that and think, you know, fortunately that's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, where they actually ask, and I mean, they ask us sometimes, and I kind of, I mean, it's like, what should I do here? Because I think it's good that, because that takes a little bit of courage too, because a lot of people are just like, you should already know.
Yeah. Well, that's like, not how it always it doesn't work that way. But if you're coming at it where you're trying to learn and trying to do it in a respectful way, then obviously, you know, so definitely. So we appreciate that. And I guess before we get into super wrestling news, still while we're on the WWE thing, it appears that Sasha and Naomi are off the internal roster. So it seems like Raj Giri's report was correct, that Sasha is gone. It sounds like Naomi is gone as well. Naomi has been tweeting a little bit more lately. She's been posting kind of like, not memes, I want to say, but like quotes about like strength and things like that. So it seems like she's been a little more active. I don't know if, who knows what their lawyers like negotiated. So I don't know if they like can't say what happened, you know, like if they have to wait.
I'm sure they have to wait.
Yeah, I don't know if they have to wait like 30 days or 90 days, or, you know, to address the situation and address what happened. And somebody made a good point, like, they should probably kind of keep it vague for now anyway, because if they're just like, oh, if Sasha's like, oh, well, I'm going to Stardom, like it's going to take away the mystique from that. Like if she kind of not loses leverage, but like, I guess loses attention, especially because the wrestling business moves so quickly. Like we've talked about this before, like MJF, we were talking about earlier in this episode, like that was a huge story. And then it quickly went away because,
something else happened.
Yeah. The Jeff Hardy stuff happened, then Vince McMahon, then the Sasha and Naomi stuff. Like, so it keeps the wrestling business moves just like anything else. Like it moves quickly and things happen. And even like Cody just left AEW a few months ago, but it also at times seems like last year.
Yeah.
Because like, and Big E gave an update a few days ago and was talking about his neck. And he said, we'll check it again at the year mark. And I was like, when was he injured? Like, I couldn't remember. I was like, was it earlier this year or late last year? And I was talking to some, and they were like, no, it was in March. And they were like, the pandemic has kind of thrown things off too, because it seems like the last few years have just merged into one big time block. So it's hard to remember.
Time,
So it seems like so. Yeah, so hopefully Sasha and Naomi have been released. Hopefully they're happy and getting back to, I'm sure this has been.
I think WWE has bigger fish to fry. So
yeah,
that's probably the smartest move, because there were lawyers involved already.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're going to win that one. It's probably not worth it.
No. So I hope they're happy. I hope we see them doing whatever it is that they want to do next, and that they are doing well and thrive and, are happy. So I just wanted to address that real quick, but we will actually talk about wrestling that we watched, because that is what the show is about, is two broads chatting about the wrestling they like.
More WWE talk. There's like the most that we've had, maybe.
Yeah, if you don't want to hear, if you're tuning, we should put like a timestamp. Move to like an hour.
No. If you're tuning in, you can listen to what we have to say about wrestling issues, okay?
Yeah, that is true. I just meant WWE.
Watching that issue.
Yes, we are. And we're going to keep talking about it. So, and if the situation comes up in any other company, we'll talk about it too. So this isn't just a WWE thing. If it happens in any company, we're going to talk about it. So.
Yeah, great. We have to.
Yes, we do. So I guess the one thing we will talk about is last week on Rampage, we got Eddie Kingston versus Takeshita, who I'm not sure how long his excursion in the U.S. is, but
Can it be forever?
I hope so. Because he's just making the most of it. He's just everywhere. Like I see him, he like pops up in some company. And I was like, how do you have time for AEW? Because you're always somewhere. He's always like, last Sunday he wrestled Daniel Garcia for the PWG title.
And he was in Detroit when we were there.
Yeah.
So
he's all over the place, which is nice for us.
One of my friends actually said he's going to go back to. He's going back to Japan, a bigger star than he already was, and that's saying something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I did see that. I know for sure he's got some match was announced in DDT, and it's in September. So I know for sure he'll be back in the fall over there. I don't know how long he's here for, but while he's here, we did get to see him against Eddie Kingston, and I saw some people are like, why is he wrestling Eddie? Because have you ever heard Eddie talk about Japanese wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because I wouldn't be surprised if he requested this match.
No, definitely. I feel like Eddie's finally getting a chance.
Tony might have just been like, hey, let's do this. But Eddie might have been like, let me have this.
I think he's finally getting, he's in his position where he's like a big enough star to get matches that he's wanted his whole career.
Exactly.
And I think he's taking that opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's how I felt with Suzuki. Is he's like, I don't know when this is going to end. Everybody.
Exactly. And if you follow Eddie on Twitter, he's forever tweeting Japanese matches from like All Japan, from like back in the 80s, like in the 90s. Like he's definitely a student. Yeah, he's a fan, and he's a student of Japanese wrestling. And you can tell that like like you said, he's got this opportunity and he's making the most of it and he's doing whatever he can. And Takeshita is clearly, he's already a star, but who knows where he's going to be 5 years from now. He's going to be like, you've already, we've heard the Tanahashi comparisons, which I think are apt comparisons. And so we see that he's going to be huge already. And he's super talented. And like, again, he's 27 and he's already doing this stuff. Like, what is he
got such a crazy lineup right now.
Yeah.
They've got Shooter. They've got him. They've
got
and
Clark
Shooter and people like that in the.
Yes. Well, and then there's even in the wings is Nick Wayne. He turned 17.
And that's right, of course.
He turned 17 yesterday. So he's got 1 year left and he will be in, and Tony said that he said in an interview that Tony said he has to graduate and he has to turn 18 and then he can start his journey with AEW. So, I mean, that's somebody who's waiting in the wings, who's having like,
and then QT Marshall calls him out or whatever. And it's like, well, then I'll wait until I'm this age or whatever.
Yeah, like, yeah, I had to wear the Brody shirt today because I was like, well, we had the Rochester show, which was, well,
that was, I mean, that was -1, obviously.
Yeah, that was great. They have -1.
And
it was
-1 waiting in the wings for free.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe
they've got their development program is seriously getting there, man.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows, they might have Nora Moxley, maybe she wants to come in and and they've got, there's Hangman's baby, and Matt Menard was talking about his kid in that promo the other day. So, there's all these, who knows what'll be happening in 10 or 15 years.
Now, Moxley's kid will want to be a chef like
probably
doing right now.
Probably. Like, maybe she'll
be online and it'll be like, stop it. You can't be like both of us and be a wrestler.
Yeah.
There's too much. That's too much.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so anyway, going back to that match. So the match lived up. So I had a friend of mine was at the show and he saw me talking about the match and he was like, I can tell you now it was a banger. So it's like, well, I have it on good authority. And then he was correct. It opened. I thought that was a main event match that opened Rampage.
Opened the show.
Yeah, it was. They just went, and it was interesting. They were like already in the ring when the show started. Like it was off the bat, like just they were going at it and ready to go, and it was fantastic. It was just. And you knew on paper. Again, we've talked about this before. When you see matches on paper that look good, but then you go into you go and you see the actual matches and they live up, they surpass everything you expected. And I think that's what happened here. They just went all out. And a few times they made it, which is we've talked about, and it's a good thing of there. I mean, there was a few times that Takeshita nearly pulled it out. And I was like, well, maybe they are going to let him get his rub on the out here. So it was a phenomenal match, and I'm glad Eddie got that. And then to see the praise for him on Eddie was praising him on Twitter. Well, they were praising each other, but then there was a video. Oh, it was because Emi Sakura, she went up to Eddie after the match, which she's really great about going to wrestlers right after the match and getting like honest reactions from them, because she's done it with Hangman Page, was one of the best ones she's done. Yeah, and so she did it for Eddie, and Eddie was just talking about like how great Takeshita was and how he loved it and he wants a rematch, and he wants just all of the praise that he had for him, and even Takeshita was like he likes the Japanese style of wrestling, so it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to Eddie versus Jericho because they both like the Japanese forms of wrestling, and I think that's really, and he was just like, so you could see there was the mutual respect between the two of them, and it's really nice to see Eddie get that, especially coming off of Blood and Guts where he got his victory taken away from him and he got that moment taken away, even though he was probably the star of, other than, I mean, because he's the one who pushed Sammy off the cage. I was gonna say other than Sammy, but I guess Eddie was basically the star of that match.
I mean, he did do a local news program here.
That's right. I remember you telling me.
And I think that's certainly, not that he wasn't already over, but I think that it certainly helped that, he went on the news and was like, Detroit is the shit. And we were like, you're the shit.
Yeah.
So
right.
it's, I mean, it's very easy in this town if you give some love to the 313, and we are happy to give you
Yeah.
plenty of love back.
Definitely. So, which is why, so we'll hit on this real quick about Eddie was trending earlier because people were body shaming him.
Oh, lovely. Oh.
Because, I guess they've moved on from Adam Cole because they body shame him all the time.
Do
So
we
now
have to come back to this?
Yeah.
This Eddie body shaming thing? It's
Yeah.
cute as it when it's an angle, but when it's a toxic Twitter
Yeah, it's
trend,
just
and
toxic
that was a lot
Twitter
of
when
tease.
and so, Eddie's made the comment before, like, if you want to talk about his body, he doesn't give a shit because he's out here living his
Yeah,
dream.
right.
It says more, and he said it, and I think most of us think that too. When you body shame someone, it says more about you than the person you're body shaming.
Yeah.
It clearly says that you're insecure for whatever reason.
And a judgmental butthead.
Yeah, absolutely that too.
Keep it to yourself. Who cares?
Yeah, don't go on
it's
Twitter.
It's okay to have those thoughts, but just keep them in your head, man.
Yeah, don't go on Twitter where he can read these things. I mean, I know he doesn't care, but still,
yeah, but it's not necessary.
It isn't. It's not necessary. None of us need to. And so, like I said this morning, when I clicked on it, was a bunch of people who were like talking about how great Eddie is, and we're not going to body shame him, and it doesn't matter what his body looks like. And talking about how he just had this incredible match on Friday, and because that's what I thought when I saw him trending. I assumed it was because of his match from Friday, and then
that's what he should have been trending.
Exactly, and then I didn't see any of the negative comments myself. I just saw people talking about how they're like, we're not doing this.
We're ridiculous.
We're not going to
get out of here.
Yeah, so anybody who's body shaming anybody, screw all of you.
Yeah, stow that shit and get a life. Go outside. I'm with Jim Valley. Go outside.
Go
get some air.
Grass.
Go pet a dog. As long as you ask the owner first.
Go love yourself.
Get some air. Get a drink. It doesn't have to be alcoholic. You can just go get a lemonade and sit by some water or something.
Right. Do literally anything else.
Literally anything. Get a life is I know that's an old saying, but
it's
also
in 2022 it's an apt statement.
People spend an extraordinary amount of time doing ridiculous nonsense like that when you could be doing something meaningful, either with your existence or for your community.
Or you could be you could be fighting a microphone. I mean,
your microphone just didn't like what I had to say.
They don't like
chick just yammering on.
No, this microphone doesn't like they don't like the Eddie hate either. They're like, I will fight.
We don't need any hate in our thing. We
don't.
And I mean, real quick, because we just with the we're getting on our hour here, but the New Japan thing is, I guess we're not getting cheering for the G1 after all, and they
can't make up their mind. They'll say it and then they take it away. I'm like, why do you keep dangling this carrot in front of the fans and the wrestlers? Especially, it makes it harder too when DDT Pro is doing it and has been doing it.
Well, makes, if I'm a New Japan wrestler that has a choice, and I'm not in the G1, which is still an important thing, but if I'm not in it and I'm not getting wrecked from it, and I'm not, go wrestle somewhere where people can cheer for you. Go be on Strong. Go do the thing with. I mean, it's got to be tough. I mean, they're selling. It's the 5th and 6th of September, and they're selling only 2/3 of the stadium.
It's really I get
it's Corrigan Hall too.
Yeah, I get being
bummer.
Yeah, I get being safe, and that's not the issue. I understand that they're trying to, but it's harder to use that as the reason when DDT is doing it. And you see these wrestlers who wrestled at the Forbidden Door and they got to hear all of this stuff, and now they have to come back to silence. That's got to be hard for them, just mentally having to get to that. I think it's got to be rough.
Well, and I mean, I do expect there to be just good matches on it because G1, of course.
Oh yeah, I really it. Won't take it.
A real bummer. I really was like.
I think it's also a bummer because it was announced and then it was taken away.
Yeah.
And so I think that makes it even more difficult because
twice.
Yeah, because they were supposed to be able to cheer during BOSJ, and that didn't happen.
And then it was gonna be for Dominion, and to the credit of the Japanese fans, they're still filling the halls and they're still doing as best they can. But it's a real
It takes I hate
bummer.
I
but a not bummer about New Japan is that they are going to be using Stardom that they have purchased a little more often.
Finally.
And it sounds like they're going to be doing a lot of booking them on the shows here in America, in North America, where we really seem to I think they got the message from Forbidden Door that there was enough interest, and this is a perfect test market for them to get.
Absolutely.
And it's great for me. My please, oh please, oh please is get me some Stardom on New Japan World that I already subscribed to, because I don't have, thank God we have Mr. Scott over there that is the ultimate word on. But I can go check anything you want to hear about Stardom now. So
we're trying to get you covered.
But it would be really fun. You've got AEW on there now. You've got Impact on there now. It's fun to see that. It's fun to log onto my homepage with Strong and see that there's Impact shows and there's Dynamite shows. And stuff like
and
that.
They're and it's fun because on Twitter they're even retweeting. So I mean, we've already talked about how they're behind the times with the giftings, but at least they are retweeting AEW and Impact and things like that. And since we were talking about Japanese wrestling, yesterday was the big TJPW show. I heard it was excellent. Thunder Rosa lost her match, and so Mayu Yamashita is getting a shot at her title at some point. I don't think they have said when. I think All Out would probably be a really good place to do that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I don't know how quickly that's happening, but I know that was because I heard the match was very, very good. And a lot of people
have to get her on the TVs.
People were shocked that because she's been on Elevation. She was on Elevation 3 or 4 weeks ago, but that's it. That's the only time that she's been on AEW programming.
So I believe that All Out was something like the 5th or 6th of September.
Yeah, so they do have to get her on TV. Hopefully they can. I don't know what her commitments are, obviously, with TJPW and what she's got to do. And then I know apparently, so Willow was supposed to be there, but she had visa issues and had to pull out. Which she was really disappointed about. I know that Alex Windsor was on the show, and I believe she won her match. And I believe I really should have. I'm sorry, I did not do my homework. I'm just going based off of what I saw on Twitter. Riho and Yuka. Not Yuka. It was Riho and Shida. I think they were in a match together, based on the pictures that I saw. But apparently they had a phenomenal match, which is not a surprise considering the two of them. But I just heard the show overall was really, really great. And a lot of people who tuned in, who I guess had not watched it before, were really impressed. So that's always a good thing. So hopefully we'll see more of a relationship, not with just Takeshita, but with the women and TJPW and DDT, even more. And so it's great that they can both work with, it's not like a AAA and CMLL thing, like they can work with both DDT and New Japan, which is nice to see, and now Stardom. So it's really nice. It's we've talked about this a lot. It's a nice time to be a wrestling fan because we're getting access to things that we didn't think we would see, and there's ways to watch it. And then so you brought up, I wanted to bring this up real quick. You mentioned Shooter. So Shooter versus Pac for the Rev Pro, in Rev Pro for the All Atlantic Championship is happening today, but they are airing the match on Dark in full on Tuesday.
Good.
Pony tweeted that out on Friday. So it will be in full, and then they will also show highlights during Dynamite as well.
I guess spoilery enough is that the fact that on the 22nd of July, he will be defending that title in Dublin front of OTT crowd.
Maybe it's gonna be Shooter.
So we'll see how that goes. I don't think that they would be.
No, I don't think Pac is dropping the title after one title defense.
I don't either, but I do find it funny that my friend was like, I'm gonna get to see him, and I'm like, well, that's assuming he doesn't lose that ref.
Exactly. Card is subject to change.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Do you know who he's supposed to be wrestling in at that show? Have they?
I don't yet. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that hasn't been fully done. And
yeah.
Let's hope it's somebody cool like that we didn't expect.
Yeah. And that is the thing so far. I was going to say, it seems like this because, it's like, oh God, it's another title. And it's because Warner Brother Discovery wanted the title, but they're doing cool things with it already. Like Pac is
something of a unpopular amongst the Irish fans. But in a good, a good way.
He has some heat.
Well, he had the OTT championship, I think, for a bit. And
yeah,
he was
I think he
douche
did.
about it. And I mean, it was good.
Pac
it was all good.
No,
it was perfect.
Clearly, the bastard.
He was very much, And
couldn't possibly
get that guy out of here. But I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and maybe he'll get both somehow.
Take that title and go wrestle, and kind of like we were talking about with Thunder Rosa. Even though she's not defending her title, she got to go to TJPW. She's going to AAA to wrestle Taya, and so it's cool that Pac is getting to take that. He gets to represent AEW in the UK, and he gets because that is they're building towards trying to get to the UK to do shows. I know Tony's dream is like he's talked about it on the media calls. I don't know how many times about how he wants to run.
Well, he wants to fill his football stadium.
Yeah,
and that's
an understandable
tall order.
It is, but it's an understandable goal. It would be really cool to be able to do that, even if they start out with a smaller venue and work into that one.
Football stadiums like that are bigger than even.
It is. No, it's huge. And Tony definitely has, but he's done a lot with AEW so far. So, maybe he's the one that can make it happen.
Great.
Especially when the UK, they don't get a lot of, it's not like it's hard.
Well, if they keep doing this sort of things, like, if New Japan is actually serious about doing the UK shows again, like Royal Quest.
Right.
I know plenty of Europeans that they go to that show because it's an easy, like, it's way cheaper for them to go
right exactly
back and forth than it ever would be for us.
And
so if they keep doing that, I think that does actually help Tony's chances a great deal. And that says, if you're sending Pac to Rev Pro and OTT, that means that you're at least going to work with some other indies there that can potentially help fill out a card in that situation that would fill a football stadium.
Yeah, Tony seems to have a plan in place. He seems to know what he's doing. So
he's the most enthusiastic person I've ever seen. He's very interesting. He wants to bring a pay-per-view to Detroit. I'm like, where?
He's like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It might, and like we talked about, maybe there'll be a Battle of the Belts, which is fun. I've
under promise, over deliver.
Right.
Battle of the Belts is
fun. I've been to a Battle of the Belts show. It had a pay-per-view feel to it. It was fun, and we got title matches. And then they were also, because that was the show that Cody was supposed to be on, and then he had may have had COVID. It was never confirmed whether it was him but he made COVID references. But for whatever reason, he was not on that show. So Tony felt bad. And so he put Hangman Page on Dark. And so we got to see everybody else in action. So, he definitely tried his best and it was fun. So
I don't think he won't try. I just think, calm your tits a little, as they say.
Maybe that's where MJF comes back.
Well, if you are predicting stuff like that, then we are all in trouble, but also it could be great for us. So
I was thinking about it. I was like, well, if it really was wintertime, then maybe he will come back at Winter is Coming. Like Sting.
Maybe that was what the winter was all about.
Maybe that's what I was thinking. I was like, is that why I dreamed it was wintertime? So his imminently is not imminently as in the summertime. Maybe my dream was in the winter. So maybe it's imminently from the winter and he's coming back at Winter is Coming.
There you go.
We're just going to stretch this out so that whenever he comes, I'll be like, well.
Or maybe it'll snow randomly the weekend.
It could. Listen.
Maybe they'll do Sting Snow entrance.
I'm just about to say, I had the same idea. Maybe they do the Sting Snow, and that's how Wardlow's gonna get snowed on. And we didn't talk about that at all, but congratulations to Wardlow for getting that title. I'm excited for him, but I'm sad for Scorpio because Scorpio's title run was not what it should have been. I know part of it was the injury, and this title has been, since Cody left, like they've just not really, they've had some trouble. And I get like that the TNT title is supposed to be a thing where it kind of goes back and forth. Like anybody can win at any time, which is cool, but it has also seemed like a little like they don't know what they're doing with it. Like, because you see, there's a very clear path for the TBS championship. There's a very clear path for the women's championship. There's even a clear path for the interim champion now at this point. So it just seems like that title has been struggling. So hopefully now with Wardlow, like he's already been so
he was
over.
Like raging hot, and
yeah,
and so they died after the pay-per-view,
right?
So.
But the fans were really into it when he won, and during that match, because I think they knew it was coming, and of course it happened in Rochester.
I think it was time.
So it was time. It was in Brody Lee's hometown. Which was really nice. So it was cool to see, that he got that spot there, and that it was, so that was really cool. So I'm interested to see and they made a big damn deal out of it. I mean, there was like New Japan level confetti.
Yeah.
It was like,
seriously.
It was a lot of, I was like, those poor people will have to clean up all that confetti, but it looks cool. So and it's interesting. I want to know what Wardlow's title will look like, because everybody's kind of had their own version of the title, so it'll be interesting to see if he keeps the purple or if he does something else with it. So good for Wardlow. Hopefully we've got this poor title back on track now, and
maybe he'll carry it for a bit and get it.
Yeah, I think so. And
Wardlow and he will help it. And
yeah, I think so. I think it was a good timing, and hopefully they figure out what they're doing with Scorpio, because he's great and deserves to be booked better. And so hopefully they'll figure that out too. And I know that we are going over, and so I do want to point out real quick that I finally watched Fred Rosser versus Filthy Tom Lawler last night, and it was very, very good. It was definitely the hype that we've been hearing about that match. It definitely lived up to it, because we've known for a very long time. I know this match is 3 weeks old on TV now, but we've known for a very long time that Fred Rosser won the match because of the taping in Philadelphia. But and then I saw the pictures of Fred Rosser's very bloody face, and I was like, well, this is a Tom Lawler match. So
yeah, right.
Especially if you've seen Tom Lawler versus Jon Moxley. Yeah. That canvas was covered in blood. So I was not surprised, but I was like, I need to know why he's bleeding like this. And I found out. But the match the bleeding happened early on in the match, but it helps tell the story of kind of what what Fred Rosser had to go through. But it was a fantastic match. I did add it to my match of the list contender that I have on my apps, my notes app. I did add that to it, but it was really great. And it was really nice to see, because of Fred has chased that title for so long, and it seems like they're going to give him a good shot at this title. I don't know if he holds it for a year like Tom did. I think he'll hold it for a while. I know a lot of people think that Jonah will be the next title holder, which is probably likely. But so I think it sets Fred up in a good position while Tom Lawler is in the G1 doing his thing and showing out, and kind of gives Fred his own room to grow as champion and do his own thing. So it'll be interesting to see how they what they do next with it, because he wasn't on last night. Was the tag team tournament started, so it opened with a tournament match. It was the Factory versus Christopher Daniels and Uemura, and then the middle match was Taylor Rust, which I keep still want to call him Tyler, Taylor Rust versus Jonah. And then they bookended it with West Coast Wrecking Crew, who are part of Filthy Tom's stable, against TMDK, which was Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste. And so it was a really solid show overall. And so Rosser wasn't on there. I don't know if he'll be, you know what? I don't even know if he's announced for the Charlotte show.
Interesting.
Now that I think about it, He probably is. Maybe I've just forgotten. Yet. Yeah. We still have 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks from today.
Yep.
So they've announced Saramu for sure. And now they've announced Kushida, who I'm very excited to see. I haven't seen Kushida. I saw Kushida back in Ring of Honor, and I did a meet and greet with him, and he had the IWGP junior heavyweight title then. Nice. And I got to hold the title, and it was heavyweight is in the title, but it's way heavier than I expected. I was not prepared for how heavy it was. So I'm looking forward to, I love Kushida. He's one of my favorites. So I'm very excited to see him. And we get the tag team finals. So that's exciting. So I'll get more into the card once because I will probably film the day of that show, and then I'll go to the show unless they do meet. And we were talking about this before. I don't know how they're handling meet and greets because New Japan's been doing a lot of online meet and greets. So I don't know if we will get one. I hope so, because I really want to meet Haramu. I actually really want to meet Eddie Kingston too. So hopefully, and I can tell Eddie Kingston how great he is, and not to listen to people on the internet because they're dumb.
To keep it up, Eddie. Don't listen.
Yes, to keep, as he says in his article, keep going.
Yeah.
So just want him to keep going because he deserves it, and we love him. So yeah. So I just wanted to throw that in there about I finally got around to watching it last night. I was like, we have to watch it. And then I want to see it. I will
catch up on it.
Yeah,
I was looking at all of the stuff yesterday and was like,
yeah, because
I'm not going to go back too far.
Yeah,
I'm just going to watch the recent.
That's what we had to do too, because we missed a lot during BOSJ, and I was like, I don't have time to do all of that. So I was like, I will start with Fred Rosser, the episode with Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler. The episode after that was like some United Empire thing, and I think it was all United Empire.
Yeah, I started watching that one.
I didn't watch that one. I skipped to the one last because it had already.
I wanted to catch the other one, and then
Yeah, last night's episode had already aired, so I just got, because I was like, well, we're gonna be there, and so I want to make sure I'm keeping up to date with the tag team, because we've got two tag team
you need to know for your show.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, because I need to know who's and I don't want them to be like, oh, well, this is who's wrestling each other for the finals, and I'm like, oh, I haven't been keeping up. So
I kind of lost because I was at Forbidden Door and Blood and Guts. Oh yeah, I kind of lost a week, so I just this week sort of caught up on everything that I wanted to. And
good.
Hey, big shout out to James and Kevin for like going on our show. I know you mentioned it to me that they went on our show and then did their own show afterwards.
Yeah, they did.
And I actually I listened to that episode and was like, thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
Just big shout out. I mean, they're the best. I love that's one of my favorite shows to listen to weekly. And the fact that they really went out of their way to do that show. And then sat and did their own show. Yeah. And it's like, God, it had to have been like 1 or 2 in the morning when they did that.
Yeah, it was. Because when we
that's commitment.
We were your lovers afterwards, and I was like thanking them, and they're like, "Okay, now we have to go do our show," and I was like, "Oh, you poor guys." I was like, "I have to go to sleep because I have to work tomorrow." But I was like,
that's next level. Like you definitely get to keep your honorary Powerbombshell status for life on that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so and I appreciate them for coming and taking
your
the time.
Powerbombshells, am I right?
Powerbombshells. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so I guess let me throw up our things again. Oh, and also, we completely forgot to talk about this in the beginning. This is episode 20, so we've made it to the second set of digits.
It's amazing. We've done this for 20 weeks. We've spent 4 months. I can't do math. Forget it. We've spent a lot of months together, and it's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to the next 20.
Yeah, and me too. I am too, and we have some guests who want to come on, and gotta figure that out.
Yeah, we've got some good stuff in our guest queue, I think.
Yeah, we do, and then G1's coming up, so we'll have lots of G1. There's a lot of New Japan related content on Fight Game Media, which you should subscribe to right there.
Yes, you should.
So we will definitely keep you updated on G1. I'm going to hopefully be able to keep up with it like I did with BOSJ where we get to watch because they got to the point where they just were having matches it was nice where they had all the block matches in one night, so I could just watch it all at once. So if they're not going to put up individual matches, which I still fuss about, they still should put up individual matches. It would make it easier to consume, but I am glad that they did go back and just after like night 4 or 5, they just put all 10 matches on one show, and so it was much easier to watch, and the shows were easier to consume, and there's always something happening, and even matches that like, oh, okay, that might be good, and then it ends up being awesome. And so I think, and of course G1 is the G1, so
I mean, it's the biggest wrestling tournament of the year. It sets up so much. I mean, it's hard to miss. And again, you got people like Tom Lawler, and how are you gonna not?
Yeah, I cannot wait I hate that the fans can't cheer for him, but I cannot wait to see their reactions to him.
They're going to love him.
Especially because now the jacket has the streamers down, not the streamers, but it has the stuff down the back and the fringe. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. But what's not love? Even if he is a heel.
He's like the perfect kind of heel for the Japanese audience.
I think the fans are going to
love him.
I think so too, and obviously he can go, so I think he's going to have, and I cannot wait till he wrestles Toru Yano. I'm so looking forward to that match. I mean, sure, he's going to have other great matches, because I believe Okada is in his block, I think. I haven't looked at the block in a while. But I remember that Toru Yano was like the big thing that I was looking forward to, because I was like, I cannot wait to see how he reacts to Tom Lawler and how Tom Lawler reacts to him. It's going to be great.
Oh, can't wait. Okay. Yes. That'll make up for a lot of the cheering stuff.
Yes. So
I'll be screaming in my heart really hard.
Be cheering, so it'll work. But yeah, so we have some fun things to look forward to in the next 10 to 20 episodes, and thank you for hanging out with us, whether this is your first episode or your 20th episode, and we appreciate you and your support, and make sure that you come follow us on Twitter. Oh, I forgot to tweet it last week, but we've fixed the Instagram, so now it's a Instagram.
It's a general Powerbombshells. So if Sam wants to put pictures on there,
I'll probably put some New Japan pictures on there.
It's one of those things where I was like, I need this to be a shared thing.
Yeah, we might as
way more fun. And we see things like. We love the same wrestling, but we don't see the wrestling the same way, and it's a lot of fun to get.
Yeah, and
those fun things. Plus, anytime you have the really goofy pictures and
and Friday I bought my GCW tickets, so I'm going to my first officially going to my first GCW show next month, and they still have not announced Maki Ito, because she's wrestling the weekend before, so we keep, every time they announce somebody, our group is like, this isn't Maki. Not that we don't want to see these people, but they've announced Nick Gage is on the poster, so I assume we're getting Nick, which I'm excited for, because
I hope you get to. He's been with them a lot. I hope you get to.
Yeah, I want to experience the Nick Gage GCW entrance. I really want to experience that. Fortunately, did not get front row because I had to. It was not in my budget. I had to get my brakes fixed on my car, so we're gonna be third row. But my friends got front row, so it'll be cool.
That's okay. You can have less glass on you that way.
That's true. Yeah, we were like, are there going to be death matches? I was like, we can bleed in North Carolina, so are we just getting hardcore stuff? But then my friend was like, well, remember ROH, we got BJ Whitmer versus Steve Corino, and that was, I think they said it was a hardcore match, but it was practically a death match. Like, there were all kinds of weapons, and there was a lot of blood.
They're allowed. They're going to give you one.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting.
I've only been to one show so far, but I get the impression that if they're allowed, you're getting it.
We're getting him. They announced they
bring one of those clear tarps.
Yeah,
like to a Gallagher or something from way back in the way back in the day.
way back in the day. But I understood that reference.
Thank God. I would have
some of these really other youngins watching this channel might not, but
I would have felt really silly.
No, I know exactly who you're talking about and what you're talking about. But yeah, so we've got that to look forward to. So we will post the Instagram link. We'll make a little thing for it, a banner. So we have that up here too. And yeah, so thanks for hanging out with us. Like, again, whether this is your first episode or your 20th, or we are glad that you are here. And make sure to follow us on the social media, because we try to stay active there. And we will be back next week with episode 21.
That is right.
So does that mean our show will be legal next week?
Oh my God, we get to drink finally.
Can we drink on the show next week? Will that be frowned upon?
I mean, I guess we could. I don't know how it's I guess, you know.
Why not? We'll just bring
They do it with the watch alongs and stuff.
Yeah, so why not? Maybe next week we'll have a drink while we.
I don't know if Garrett has to card the show beforehand or something.
We'll find out. We'll ask him. But yeah,
Boss, is this okay?
If not, we'll post pictures of us on Twitter with a drink or something.
There you go.
We'll find a way to celebrate us being.
We'll
legal
make sure that you all know that Powerbombshells is old enough to drink.
That's going to be the theme for next week's episode. All right. So yeah, come enjoy some more ridiculous stuff with us next week, and make sure that you follow us everywhere. And I popped up some stuff, but follow Fight Game Media because they are brave enough to host us. They might change that after next week.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Maybe we'll be back for episode 22.
Or we'll be the most popular show on the network.
Good. Maybe
you never know. It's wrestling. You never know.
Give us some views. So all right. But yeah, so we're done.
All right. You guys have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.